Larry, I'll pass the consent agenda on to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. The consent agenda is a tool that the council uses to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. Consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and the vote of council. Items may be removed from consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. There are 12 items on the consent agenda and 10 on our regular agenda. The first item involves minutes and several reports. There are 14 sets of minutes from 11 groups or committees. The last two items under item 1 on the consent agenda involve disbursement of fiscal year 2014 through 2015 City Council discretionary funds from, and this report identifies two disbursements in the amount of $100 and $300. Item N, the last item under 1, is a settlement of claims, contract change orders, contracts awarded, and the manager's discretionary fund. And from October 10th through November 19th, there's been approximately $260,000 dispersed. Item 2 on the consent agenda involves amending the fee schedule under administration for the airport. Staff is proposing a $1,000 fee for planes greater than 12,500 pounds and an $800 fee for planes less than that size. And this is in association with our U.S. Customs Service, which is projected to run about $160,000 a year. Item 3 on the consent agenda is a resolution honoring retiring employee Timothy Parks Broom with 29 years of service, which he culminates as a facilities maintenance worker. The fourth item is a series of budget amendments, first of which is a donation from the police department, from Omnova in the amount of $1,500 for use in supporting the DARE and GREAT programs. Second budget amendment is payment to the police department for advanced driver training services in the amount of approximately $150, derived from traffic cone rentals and also will be used to support youth programs. The third budget amendment is a donation to Parks and Recreation Department from the Friends of Ellen Fitzgerald Senior Center, the amount of $4,000, which is proposed to be matched from the manager's discretionary fund by an additional $4,000 to be used to replace computers for use in the senior center. Item 5 involves city council meetings for 2015, which basically sets the calendar for our regular meetings, strategic meetings, a retreat, and budget sessions. The second item is major or significant events in 2015, and it sets forth approximately 33 events, 17 of which are downtown events, 3 are Parks and Recreation related events, 6 are fire department related events, and the other remaining are miscellaneous 7. Items 6 and 7 are related. First 6 is to call a special city council meeting on December 15th to allow council to take action pursuant to the public hearing, which is being called for as item number 7 on December 15th at 3 p.m. to consider a level 3 grant award to a confidential company. The EDC grant would be up to $466,200 over a 5-year period. The company's investment is forecasted at approximately $21 million in equipment, machinery, building improvements. Item 8 is a call for 2 public hearings on January 6, 2015. The first of which is for consideration of a zoning map amendment requesting for property located at the intersection of Skyway Drive and Concord Avenue from general industrial and R20 to conditional district pertaining to the Union County Human Services Building. The second public hearing is to consider a zoning text amendment involving a number of items, first of which is the designation and amendment of the historic districts, certificates of appropriateness generally, delay of effective date, and state recommendations concerning establishment of districts of a unified development ordinance. Item 9 is the award of 2 contracts. First is for 6-way distribution switchgear, which sets forth the purchase of 2 switchgears. The first is to replace equipment that's approximately 35 years old. The second would be used as a spare. Second contract award is for Microsoft Software Enterprise Agreement through Dell for a 3-year contract price of $390,000. The purpose is to allow us to differentiate our purchasing strategy, minimize the disruption, and provide better access to the latest licenses and software offered by Microsoft. Item 10 is a runway 5 medium intensity approach lighting system with runway alignment indicator light improvements at our airport. And it essentially is a contract and a budget amendment for design, bid, and improvements totaling $63,814 change. Item 11 is a request by Winchester Alumni Association to install a statue at the Winchester Head Start building. This allows installation of a school mascot, buffalo, which has been purchased by the alumni, or will be purchased by the Alumni Association, and it will be near life size and scale. Item 12, the last item on the consent agenda, is the requesting authorization to apply for federal assistance for firefighter grant through the Department of Homeland Security's. It's a 90-10 match, and the amount of total grant amount is projected to be $60,000, of which $6,000 would be a local match. Applications must be received by December 5th, so time is of the essence. We anticipate going for eligible project elements involving existing fire departments, upfitting them with sprinkler systems and with fire alarms, and we're looking at specifically firehouse number 2.
All right, motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. The consent agenda has been approved. We'll move into the regular agenda. Item 13 on the regular agenda, presentation of a comprehensive financial report for the year 2014.
Hi, I'm Lisa Strickland, Assistant Finance Director. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Martin Starnes and Associates are the new auditors for the City of Monroe. They have completed their annual audit for the city through June 30th, 2014. Mr. Chris Costner with Martin Starnes is here to present the comprehensive annual report highlights.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Mayor, council, I'm just laying this here for support. It's like my security blanket. Promise you,
All right.
I'm not going to read it to you.
Okay.
So we're just gonna hit some highlights and look at a few financial highlights and communicate some things that we as the auditor are required to communicate to you as senior members, or most senior members, if you will, of city management. And then we'll let you get on about your business. So really briefly, any time that an audit is performed, the objective of an audit is to issue an opinion on the financial statements. Well, we issued an unmodified opinion on the financials, and basically what that means is the financials as you view them present fairly in all material respects the financial activity of the city for the period under which we conducted the audit. So that's a good thing. Anytime you're getting an audit, you want an unmodified opinion. There were no findings or question costs that were reported as a result of the audit. We had no internal control weaknesses or any other reportable conditions that we detected. And I always like to make sure that I thank the unsung heroes in the finance department, Ashley and Lisa. They're trying to do their day job and accommodate us. And this was our first year as the city's auditor. So a little bit of a fill you out period, transition period, but I think things went fairly smoothly. And I just want to make sure that we give them due credit. They're trying to do the day job, trying to accommodate us, and trying to make sure we get the information necessary to conduct our audit, and that we all get the reporting together, get the reporting deadlines met, reports submitted to the local government commission, so on and so forth. So I think, all things being said, I think things went fairly smoothly for a transition year, first year audit on our end. I promise you, I'm not even going to read to you a lot of the numbers on the slides. You should have a copy, full-page slides for future reference. And a lot of what is in the presentation is really here just for future reference. Just some notes that you can refer back to. We're going to focus primarily on the general fund because obviously that's your primary operating fund for the city. The first slide is just a comparative slide. It shows you how your operating revenues and your operating expenditures stacked up in 2014 compared to 2013. Fund balance. Everyone, that's the number one question. What's our fund balance? Where did fund balance wind up? Well, before I tell you, let's talk a little bit about fund balance. We like to put this slide in here just so that you understand a lot of officials like to compare themselves to other units. And when you do, you need to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. So this is how the local government commission, who publishes all the statistics about fund balance and percentage of fund balance available, this is how they calculate available fund balance. So we include this slide just so that you will know how that number is calculated. So now that you know how the number is calculated, here's the calculation of available fund balance. And as you can see, your available fund balance increased roughly $3.9 million. And your total fund balance was up roughly 3.8. So the increase in available fund balance basically mirrored your increase in total fund balance for your general fund for the 2014 fiscal year. The next series of slides, we like to give you a general idea of what's funding the government. If we were to take last year's slide and overlay it with this year's breakout, it would probably look very similar. Some of this is common sense. Well, obviously your single largest revenue is going to be your tax revenue. Your second largest revenue is going to be your unrestricted intergovernmental revenue, which is just a nice fancy. Those are the sales and use taxes that the state collects and remits to you guys. You have other revenue sources such as your restricted intergovernmental, nice fancy word for grants. Those are your grant funds. And then you can see how the pie breaks down for the other revenue sources. I've got a series of comparative slides that just shows the three or four largest revenues. I think it's three largest revenues, how they compared this year to last. You can see how your property taxes stacked up in 2014 compared to 2013. Your unrestricted intergovernmental revenue, again, these are the sales and use taxes that get collected and remitted to you on a monthly basis. You can see how those stacked up this year compared to last. And lastly, you can see how your sales and services number stacked up in 2014 compared to 2013. This was up a little bit just simply because of how the golf course was accounted for. If I remember correctly, in 2013 it was accounted for outside of the general fund, and now it was brought back in 2014. So you're getting those golf fees in there. So that's what's creating a little bit of a skew there. Expenditures, this is just a real similar breakout to what you saw in revenues. Your single largest function of government is your public safety function. That's your police and fire. You can see how the other functions break down. And again, you can see what the total expenditures were for all the functions, a little over $27 million. General government function, I would like to point out, anytime you're seeing a fluctuation, there were no budgetary violations that we disclosed. So if you're seeing expenses that are up this year, well, you budgeted for them to be up, so there shouldn't be a surprise there. General government, that includes just various things like finance and administration, planning, zoning, engineering. Those are your primary general government departments. I would like to say that these are just total expenditures. So the capital outlay amounts are included in here. So if you had some capital outlay in budgeted in one year, but not the next, sometimes you get a little bit of a skew there. I would like to point out that these various functions are included in detail in the report if you want to see exactly what departments increased, decreased, things of that nature. Public safety, you can see those expenditures were down a little bit. Again, this is a primary example. I think last year you purchased a fire truck, if I remember correctly, in 2013. didn't have that same capital purchase in 2014. So you're seeing the difference in expenditures there. Culture and recreation, looks like expenditures are up significantly. However, just remember you brought the golf course back in. So we saw the revenues go up, sales and services, and we're seeing the expenditures go up just based on how that was accounted for. Last but not least, the general fund is obviously your primary operating fund. It's not your only fund. You have another series of funds, your enterprise funds, which are used to account for various functions that are to be, in theory, financed by user fees. So the biggest difference between your enterprise funds and your governmental funds, governmental activities, is they are financed primarily by tax revenues. Whereas your enterprise funds, you want them to be self-sufficient, and you want your fees to be sufficient to cover the cost of your operations. Obviously, it's more like a for-profit type business. We just included some information, just some real high-level information for each of the enterprise funds. I always like to point out, whenever you're looking at an enterprise fund, there are a couple of numbers that I always like to look at. Number one is how much cash do you have on hand? At the end of the day, cash is king when it comes to business as far as keeping things going. I also like to look at your cash flow from operations. You always want to make sure that your operations generate obviously enough cash to cover operations, but also enough cash to cover debt service and to generate some cash to be put away for future capital endeavors and to just maintain your system. So you can see how all of your enterprise funds perform there. We've got, again, just some high-level information there on those that you can refer back to. So again, just real quick summary. As far as the audit was concerned and the results of our audit, the best way I can put it, no news is good news. We have nothing that we're reporting with regards to findings, question costs, anything of that nature. You had an unmodified clean opinion and very cooperative and accommodating staff, which made the transition to the new firm go fairly smoothly. I think our job, from our perspective, things went really well. So be happy to try to answer any questions you might have. And
Council have any questions? No.
all right.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And I also want to add thanks to the department for a fine job they did. You always do. I believe this is your X number of years. I can't remember how many that you had a more than excellent or whatever report. Help me out with that word.
6.
I'm sorry?
6 years.
6 years, okay. Well, congratulations on your 6th year. Thank y'all for what you do. Mr. Demko and the department, great job. Thank you very much. Okay, item 14, zoning map amendment, request for property at 4408 Highway 74. Public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Stein presenting zone map amendment request by Alita Outlaw for the property located at 4408 West Highway 74. The applicant is requesting to rezone the subject property from GB General Business to additional district 4408 West Highway 74. This is an aerial map of the property located on outline in blue, located along 74, and it's adjacent to the Sweet Union Flea Market. The zone map of the property, again, outlined in blue. The properties to the west, north, and east are all zoned GB General Business. The property to the south is on Highway Corridor in Union County. The applicant, Ms. Ford, is requesting to basically keep the GB uses allowed by right and also add an automotive component to the property where it could be used for either sales lot, automotive repair shop, and that's the reason for the request. Previously, there was an automotive sales lot there years ago, but what had happened since the property was on GB and the automotive had been removed from the property for more than 6 months, it lost its non-conforming status. So the only way the property can be utilized for automotive from here on out is to be going through the conditional district rezoning process. The proposal is consistent with the land development plan. Plan board and staff do recommend approval of it, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any at this time. And a resolution is in your packet for your consideration.
Council have any questions? Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close the public hearing and call for a vote.
Motion to approve, including resolution.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion, a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Item 14, zoning map amendment request for property. Okay, let me, yeah. I'm sorry. Item 15, that was, mine, okay, anyhow, 15, zoning map amendment request for property on Morgan Mill Road, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jeff Durwart with the Planning Department. This item is a zoning map amendment request by M&L Harrington LLC for property located at 2112 Morgan Mill Road. The applicant is requesting a change in zoning from general industrial to conditional district 2112 Morgan Mill Road in order to allow automotive uses in addition to all other uses permitted within the general zoning district on a portion of the subject property. This is an aerial map of the subject property. It's highlighted in blue. Morgan Mill Road is to the west. S&L Polk Road is to the south. To give you an idea generally of where this property is, the intersection of Morgan Mill Road and Olive Branch Road is directly to the north right off the page.
It used to be an old flea market and a fence place.
This is the current zoning map for the property. The subject property is highlighted in red. Note that the property in question is actually located within two different zoning districts. A portion of it is general industrial, and that's marked by the hatched area on the map here. And then a smaller portion down here that fronts on S.L. Polk Road is zoned R20 single family residential. This proposal is only for the general industrial portion of the property. So this portion that is single family residential will remain zoned single family residential if approved. Surrounding parcels are zoned general industrial, R10 single family residential, and R20 single family residential. And this is the proposed site plan for the project. Again, this is Morgan Mill Road to the west, and S.L. Polk Road to the south. The property is improved with 3 metal buildings. The applicant is proposing to allow automotive uses in a 1,500 square foot portion of space here and a 6,000 square foot portion of space here, in addition to retaining all the general industrial uses for the property. Per the applicant, this portion will be used for at least to a towing wrecking service, and this portion for an automotive repair service. They're proposing to retain the existing setbacks, which are 10 feet for the front, side, and rear. The existing parking and vehicle circulation areas are currently gravel, and the applicant is proposing no changes to those. The applicant is also proposing no additional landscaping. The area to the east is heavily wooded. The area to the south, there's an existing buffer consisting of fencing and evergreen trees, buffering the principal buildings here and the residential property to the south. The applicant did send a mailing to nearby property owners informing them of the rezoning proposal. We did receive one inquiry asking about this R20 piece and whether it would apply to that, and if there was automotive use that's going to be occurring there, and the answer is no. That portion is remaining R20. The planning board did recommend approval of this request, and a resolution for land development plan compliance is included in your packets for review. The applicant is here tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have of staff.
On the automotive use, not the wrecker part, but the bigger part, will they have hours?
No hours are being proposed.
My question is, you probably covered it in talking about those buffers in the zone. What kind of, are there gonna be a lot of cars stored there, any storage, that's gonna be out front, you know?
Not out front, everything will be in these areas. There's actually a fence that runs, I got a picture right here along the front. So anything will be in this area. For the wrecking service here, they're proposing to construct a fence, and the cars will be in that area. for the wrecking service.
The fence on the front's already screened, is it not? It has
That's,
the
that's
slats
correct,
in
it has the slats in it.
The only thing that concerns me is the automotive repair close to those houses, you know, with the hours.
Right.
I would hope it would just be daytime hours.
Um,
I'm not talking about the wrecker part, but the automotive, possible
Right.
automotive repair or whatever they do.
The applicant's here tonight, she might be able to speak better on exactly what the hours she's looking at.
Okay, any other questions?
One, he said towing. Is it towing and recovery or just towing?
Towing and recovery.
So it's repossessions.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Move we approve.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second.
I'd like to hear from the applicant on the questions that Ms. Nash asked.
Okay. Would the applicant, if you would, ma'am, give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lori Harrington, and my address for this location is 2112 Morgan Mill Road, Monroe.
Right at home.
We've got an offer to have a repair service in there. Everything is still up in the air, just depending on the passing of this zoning issue. But his hours would be only daytime hours. There would not be like a second shift or anything like that.
Well, with
It would be like a 7 to 5 or 8 to 5, that type of thing.
Well, my concern is the neighbors there, because,
Right.
you know, a lot of automotive can make a lot of noise.
Right.
So I think if we approve it without the hours being noted, then it is approved for whatever hours, am I correct? So if we could do a limitation of hours, I would feel more comfortable with it with the houses there.
For the auto
Automotive, not the
repair,
re-
not the
Because they
wrecker.
would use the other side.
Right,
But
right.
automotive repair is closest to the houses.
Right, and there is, like you said, the
There is a
buffer
barrier, I know.
and the trees, yeah. And I think there's only 2, 3 houses on that road, yeah.
I know-
But it would be daytime hours.
I know where the houses are at, but I can't, what
It
kind
was
of
all-
distance, how far is it from the houses from the actual garage or whatever they're gonna have there?
It's not that far.
About how far or whatever, I know where the house is, but I don't know how far.
Yeah, and there is a buffer, but see how close those houses are?
This house right here is probably the closest.
Yeah.
There's houses here, and this is part of the Creek Ridge subdivision
Yeah.
down here. And there's a house here, but this is the principal. This is this line back.
Okay,
The only thing is we don't specify hours for the automotive repair, then they could come in there and they could operate all the time if they wanted to. Am I correct?
Yeah. And please correct me if I'm wrong, the department staff. I think y'all could propose a condition if they agreed to it. They would just have to modify the plan after the fact. But
Yeah.
it could be a part of the approval.
Would you be agreeable to daytime hours?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
For the auto repair, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I'm not talking about I'm talking about automotive repair because it's closest to the houses.
excuse me, I would
Sometimes it can
note,
be very loud.
you would not want, if you're gonna have a restriction that's daytime hours, for example, right now it gets dark at about 5 o'clock, so,
We need
or
hours.
even a little earlier, so you may wanna have specific hours. I though am concerned this may be an issue where the city, because of the fact that I'm willing to bet that these folks will use credit cards, and that payment of that is something that potentially is in affecting interstate commerce. It may be something that's beyond the city's authority to prescribe these hours. But if the applicant is willing to agree to it, then that's no longer an issue. But it may be an issue for later. But I would suggest you specify some hour window as opposed to just saying daylight hours.
Like 7 to 7, something like that.
well,
I just want the record then to show the applicant said, appeared to nod and say, I agree, but that may not have been picked up by the microphone. I just want the applicant to basically tell me if she didn't say, I agree.
I agree.
Well, if that's the case, I'm sorry.
I was just, because it's so up in the air, I don't, but I will specify that if it does.
But you understand, if you live there, you
I
don't
do.
want to have to listen to it,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes the neighbors, you have to be a good neighbor.
Sure, I agree.
And if that's the case, I'll second the motion then.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Item 16, ordinance declaring property at 704 White Street. This time, Lisa, will recognize you. Glad to have you back, Lou Marlon.
Thank you, glad to be back.
Do what?
Yes, we do need to do that.
Bobby.
And we need to swear in.
Mayor,
Coming, I'm sorry.
The Bible.
Yep. Moving on. Everyone who is going to speak, please come forward. We have to swear you in. This is a hearing. Put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. So that I can find all of my paperwork. The oath is, do each of you solemnly swear that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Stywinner, the Planning Director with the City of Monroe, and I would like to bring before you a petition for ordinance to declare 704 Wyatt Street unfit for human habitation and demolition. Just like to first orient you to the subject property. It is highlighted in blue. It's located along Wyatt Street near John Street, and this is within the Winchester neighborhood. The site is approximately 0.10 acres and currently contains an existing 810 square feet single-family dwelling. The dwelling has been vacant for 1.5 years due to fire damage. Staff has received complaints regarding the vacancy and dilapidated conditions of the dwelling. An inspection by staff was conducted on June 24th, 2014. During the inspection, staff noted multiple violations of the minimum housing ordinance that included damaged roof, weak floors, large holes, broken windows, damaged siding, and interior and exterior wall damage. I'd like to now provide you with a couple photos of the dwelling. Photo 1 and photo 2. The code enforcement officer held and conducted a minimum housing hearing on July 28, 2014, in which Vanessa Barino, the property owner, did attend the hearing. As a result of the hearing, the code enforcement officer made and entered an order finding said dwelling to be in violation of the minimum housing ordinance, determined the dwelling to be in a dilapidated condition, and ordered the property owner to repair or demolish within 90 days. 704 Wyatt Street has a tax value for the structure in the amount of $29,580, and the repairs necessary to bring the house into compliance with the state building code exceeds 50% of the value. The land value for the subject property is $9,500. The proposed demolition cost to not include asbestos removal is $6,550 for this dwelling. Due to the condition of the structure and adverse impact it has on the area, staff is recommending council adopt an ordinance to declare the property unfit for human habitation and demolition as submitted. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. And Brian McAllister was the code enforcement officer, and he'll be happy to answer questions as well.
Go ahead and explain one more time the difference between deteriorated and dilapidated.
Yeah, wait till they finish the presentation.
You want to-
Deteriorated is, the repair cost of the structure is less than 50% of the tax value. Dilapidated would be more than 50%.
I just wanted it clarified. I was pretty sure I was right. So I wanted to make sure.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Is anyone else here who would like to speak? All right. Any other questions or comments? Council have anything?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that's item 16. Item 17.
This is another petition for an ordinance to declare 708. Do we need to swear in for every case?
No, you've already been sworn in once, and as long as
Okay.
you're not bringing in any new inspectors, which I don't think you are. you're
Okay,
fine.
just wanted to make sure. This is a petition for an ordinance to declare 708 Carr Street unfit for human habitation and demolition. Orient you to the site, it's highlighted in blue. It's located along Carr Street. I believe this one is within the Winchester neighborhood as well. Site is approximately 0.16 acres and currently contains a 1,799 square foot single-family dwelling on the property. The dwelling has been vacant for 2 to 3 years. Staff has received complaints regarding the vacancy and dilapidated conditions. An inspection was conducted by staff on July 10th, 2014. During that inspections, the violations consisted of failing porch, broken windows, rodent infestation, rotten siding, weak floors, leaking roof, and holes in the sheetrock. I'd like to now provide a few photos of the dwelling. Photo 1.
Is this Honey Jordan's old home place? Okay, that's what I thought.
Code enforcement officer held and conducted a minimum housing hearing on August 7th, 2014, in which the property owner was not in attendance at the hearing. As a result of the hearing, the code enforcement officer made and entered an order finding said dwelling to be in violation of the minimum housing ordinance, determined the dwelling to be in a dilapidated condition, and ordered the property owner to repair or demolish within 90 days. 708 Carr Street has a tax value for the structure in the amount of $0, and the land value for the subject property is $9,900. The proposed demolition, not to include the asbestos removal, is $11,950. Due to the condition of the structure and the adverse impact on the area, staff is recommending council adopt an ordinance to declare the property unfit for human habitation and demolition as submitted. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Oh, you said that the property owner was not in attendance.
Correct.
Have you heard from the property owners?
I've talked to Daisy several times. And
Daisy.
posted papers.
Daisy who?
Daisy who?
Polk.
Pardon?
Daisy Polk.
Is Daisy Polk considered the property owner?
She was one of the heirs to the property.
Where does she live, do you know?
She has an address in New Jersey and an address on English Street, and she floats back and forth. And we posted it in the paper as well, and nobody else has come forward. We've been maintaining the yard for the past couple of years, and we can't locate anybody else.
I mean, have you exhausted all efforts to try to find a heir, or if it's heir property?
I've asked around several people in the neighborhood, and I knew that Miss Honey's sister was one of the last ones, but I've heard that she was in a home being taken care of. I knew some of the nephews were also in New Jersey, and they haven't been able to contact any of them.
And Daisy Polk is the listed heir of the property.
There's no heirs listed. I made several phone calls.
There are some grandchildren, I don't know exactly where they are. Personally, I'd like to see you try to exhaust all efforts, because I know it's been 2 or 3 years, but I know that the property on Johnson Street went 11, not to draw a comparison. But with being heir property, I want us to be sure that we've exhausted all efforts before we.
They, Councilmember Anthony, they have, in this particular case, there was a notice of publication, which is sufficient under the law, under your statute. They have made the efforts. They not only, I believe, this one posted this on the door. They then also posted this by publication, which under state law is what you do when you cannot ascertain. And they did attempt to ascertain the heirs, but to go further would require a lot more time. But then, to be honest, what would be required is to notify the heirs is exactly what they've done. They've complied with state law and your ordinance in terms of notification. And when they've provided the complaint and notice of hearing and had it published in the paper, that is the obligation the city has. And we've done what is required of us, unless the property owner says that they did not receive, even if the property owner says they did not receive notice has been provided to them. So that the city has done what is required to do.
I understand we've done what is required, but have we done everything that's feasible?
To the best of our knowledge.
I have a question. Is there a particular reason that this structure here has a zero value on it, and the structure we looked at previously had a value of, I guess, $29,000, and it was in a lot worse shape. It had been burned out.
You want to explain?
Well, the tax assessor from Union County was, at the time, they started the 704, the Carr Street, 708 Carr Street. They were able to send one of the inspectors out to do a reevaluation of the property. The Wyatt Street, since they're doing the reevaluations now for the 2015 year, they were not able to send one out for that as well. They're in office now, they're not sending their inspectors out to do anything.
So the tax assessor placed a zero value on
Yes,
the
sir.
property.
Yes, I have a property card from the tax assessor saying that it is $0.
Okay.
I have one question. I guess I should have asked it on the last one. But we go in, we demolish the house, and then the property does what? I'm not sure. Does it go to the city?
There's a lien placed on the property, but the property remains the property owner's. Just there's a lien placed on.
If they ever sell it or somebody buys it, we get the lien back.
It has the same priority as unpaid taxes, council.
Yeah.
So the city would tend to, if there's an attempt to sell the property, would get its money back because it stands right up there with unpaid taxes.
And the ordinance is recorded at the Register of Deeds, so if anyone were to purchase property, they would be aware of that.
And is there a statute of limitations on that? I mean, for example, if they don't come back for 10, 15 years, I mean, we just continue to keep
It
a
would be
lien on the
about,
property?
I think it would be in the nature of, the statute doesn't run against us, but we normally look at it as about a 10-year and then renew it if needed, but we'd ensure that it is continuously on the rolls. But believe it or not, there is actually a provision that the statute doesn't run against the sovereign, which is an odd thing.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in reference to this property? I hear none, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Actually, Mayor, you need a motion on this one. I don't think you have a motion yet.
So moved. I have a motion. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, that's nay and two. You have two nays. Okay, you got that, Bridget. Yes. All right, 18, ordinance declaring property at 713 West Pfeiffer Street.
This is another petition for an ordinance to declare 713 West Pfeiffer Street unfit for human habitation and demolition. To orient you to the site, the subject property is highlighted in blue, is located along Pfeiffer Street and within the Benton Heights neighborhood. The site is approximately 0.98 acres, and there is an existing 1,369 square feet single-family dwelling located on the site. The dwelling has been vacant since 2004, so approximately 10 years. Staff has received complaints regarding the vacancy and dilapidated conditions of the dwelling. An inspection was conducted by staff on June 30th, 2014. During the inspection, some of the violations consisted of the electrical and plumbing wiring has been significantly removed, failing roof, rotten siding, broken windows, holes in the sheetrock, and weak floors. I'd like to now provide you with a few photos of the dwelling. Photo 1, 2. The code enforcement officer held and conducted a minimum housing hearing on July 18th, 2014, in which Betty Hill, the property owner, did attend the hearing. As a result of the hearing, the code enforcement officer made and entered an order finding said dwelling to be in violation of the minimum housing ordinance, determined the dwelling to be in a dilapidated condition, and ordered the property owner to repair or demolish within 90 days. After the 90 days, staff conducted another inspection on November 18th, 2014. As a result of the inspection, staff found that the property owner had completed some of the repairs on the exterior, and I believe one on the interior. Some of those repairs included replacing fascia boards, replaced a portion of the weak floor, replaced a glass door, and fixed the felling roof. I have a few photos that you can see some of the repairs. Through here. And then a hole in the wall. This is the glass door. And then some of the fascia boards. Repairs on the interior still need to be completed, so staff does deem this dwelling is still in a dilapidated condition based on the electrical and plumbing wiring being significantly removed. There's still broken windows, rotten siding, and holes in the sheetrock. 713 West Pfeiffer Street has a tax value for the structure in the amount of $15,080, and the repairs necessary to bring the house into compliance with the state building code exceeds 50% of the value. Land value for the subject property is $14,410, and the proposed demolition cost is approximately $12,950, and that does not include the asbestos removal at this time. Due to the condition of the structure and adverse impact it has on the area, staff has provided an ordinance in your packet to declare the property unfit for human habitation and demolition for your consideration. I'll be happy to answer questions. Robert Rushing served as the code enforcement officer on this case, and I believe the property owner is here as well.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
I'd like to hear from the property owner.
Yes,
Okay.
that'll be next.
Thank you.
Just a minute. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am, you the property owner? If you'd like to speak, please. If you would give your name and address, please, for our record. Come to the podium, please. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Betty Hill. I inherited it from my father and mother, and I've got a handicapped son that's kept me from doing. He's a deaf mute with cerebral palsy with seizure disorder and cholesterol problems, and I've been sick myself. I'm 70 years old. My son here has been trying to do work on it. We kept the yards mowed as much as possible. We kept insurance on all vehicles that's around the house. I have 5 other houses there. There are 5 other houses we keep up, or try to keep up. Robert kept coming by and saying things was going good on the house where we was working. I took the flu and I kept it for 3 weeks. And I was unable to do myself, and my son was trying to work for his family. And this house was helped, and we was trying to take care of them all. But with my son like it was, and me in the hospital, I got cat bit. They put me in there for a solid week. They said I could die in a weekend from a cat bite. And so that knocked me out of doing what I wanted to do. He kept saying, Robert kept saying that we were complying with what he said. He touched my face one time and turned my head because he thought I wasn't listening to him, but I was listening to what he was saying. But I looked away, and when I did, he turned my face and he said, "You look at me," twice. I should have reported that then because he should not have touched me. I'm a woman, and I don't approve of nobody. I've not got my husband walked off 33 years ago. My son's 36 years old. And that's what I've got to live for. My mother and father worked all their life. I know you lived over in the Mill Hill for a long time.
That's right.
I lived all my life just about over there on Pfeiffer Street. And that's been my heart, my soul, because I've lost both my mom and dad.
Miss Hill, What is your intentions on the house? Are you wanting to fix it up?
Yes, ma'am, we had people there today, and they come by, from,
Fox News 46.
Fox News, and they was gonna demolish it.
We had no idea we was on a demolished list until the
No.
man from the news told me I had done put a brand new architect shingle roof.
Actually, they didn't need to be sworn in.
And how long do you think it's going to take you to be able to fix it up? Do you have any idea?
That's,
It'll probably be the end of December. I've been working on it regularly and doing my 40-hour job too, and working Saturdays. And it was hard work, but I did all the carpenter work. I'm a good carpenter. And we were gonna start, as a matter of fact, we tore a floor up today to fix back. We got all the framing back right. The seals are right, everything's right. I put new doors. I went and got new windows. I got a whole bunch of new windows. I've got bathroom cabinets, bathroom sink. All I need now is the sheetrock done and my plumbing and my electrical back right.
Okay, but those have to be inspected.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna have it done by somebody that gets it inspected.
So you're saying you can be through by the end of December on the house?
I'm gonna try, yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, we took a community walk over there, and that was one of the worst streets in the city of Monroe. It's horrible. There's one house that you could smell out in the middle of the road, blankets that are hanging out where somebody is wet on the blankets. It's horrible. The street's horrible. In fact, some of our staff did not realize the street was as in bad a shape. And we're trying to improve the city of Monroe.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't think anybody wants to tear down anybody's house, but we do want the housing stock fixed. So, if you think y'all can have it through by the end of December,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I can make the motion that you have until the end of December to get it ready and fixed.
Excuse me, I think that's cutting it real short. We're already December 2nd.
I agree,
I
that's
started
not
to
going
say,
to be
you talking
enough
about this
time.
December?
I was just gonna try to get it done as fast as I could.
Yep.
I've been through it over this house.
You can't do it. You can't wire it between now and then.
No, I'm gonna hire an electrician to do that.
Yeah, you'll have to have
You
licensed
need
people
more
to
time.
do
Well,
it.
y'all give me the time, y'all.
Well, I think, Mayor, that we need to work with them to help them bring this up to code. I think staff needs to, to work with them also. And I'm not going to just say to the end of December. I think we should look at least for 6 months.
If they got good intentions, gonna go in there and fix it up,
Yeah.
you know what it's gonna take to fix it up.
Yes,
But
sir.
it's back in the market, then I don't have a problem with that at all.
Why don't we do it to where we revisit it in 90 days?
Oh,
And we can do that and then revisit in 90 days to see what they've done. Because if they've done nothing in 90 days, then that shows they're not going to work on it. And that way, we're not waiting 6 months for the house to continue to get worse.
we have been doing, but when I took the flu for 3 months, I took a shot. Me and my handicapped child both did. And I'm not trying to fall back on his handicap, but you can't just walk out.
Yeah.
I've like to lost him 3 times.
Meiji,
Thought
did you have
were gonna be
something?
through by December. I can remember checking in 90 days to see
Yeah.
what progress.
Come back to us in 90 days. We've done that with other people in the past.
Mayor, if I
Amen.
might, what I would suggest, and if it is the will of council to grant them a 90-day extension, you may want to hear from staff to ensure that that's something that they feel it could, given their history with the property. But if council wanted to do that, then what I would say is that it's a motion to, give them a 90-day extension. It is not to act on this item, because the item is to allow for demolition. Unless your desire as a council is to say they have 90 days, and if they have not made progress, then, obviously staff can bring it back. But I think that what you're looking at then is a motion to hold this open for 90 days and ask staff to inspect and then report back. And if, staff brings it back for demolition, I'll tell you what staff's view of the situation is.
Okay, I'll get that. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You wanted to say something, sir?
Yes, sir. I also want to say that in the meanwhile, I have fixed the house next door to it before up to city code. It was dilapidated one time. I fixed it. I fixed the yellow house, and I've also fixed the house my mom was living in now. It was in dilapidated state, and they had told us that we had to fix it up. And I've worked with them over the years, and this house hasn't been empty since 2004. I probably lived in my house I live in now, beside the house that you say the Cobras is on. My brother's handicapped, and she lets them air out before she washes them. She probably had them out there when you come through.
And, which I wanna say, when y'all come through, I was told to clean, and I was the one out there with my kids from 11 on up cleaning. Can't nobody help me, my sister don't help me, my brother's handicapped, I'm the one doing it all, that's what's been taking me so long. It's took me 4 months just to get what I have done, but I've done a lot. I've sliding glass door. I mean, you know, if I wouldn't have had no experience, I would have. But I've tried everything I can to satisfy the city of Monroe.
Well, I think it's very obvious the council wants to help you if we can, if you want to help yourself, and that's what we want to do. I want to hear from the staff.
Just, whatever you decide on, 90 days is fine. I would like to make sure you secure the property, board it up, so no one else can go in and vandalize, damage.
My back door.
It's boarded.
They're gonna get a new one.
My back door is the only door that don't lock right now.
Yeah.
But it's the back windows. And where we live at, like you say, you want to clean up that neighborhood. It's a rough neighborhood. I mean, I've had every window in one of my houses at least get shot out once or twice.
Well, that's what tends to happen to open houses. That's why he wants you to close this one up. Let me say this, let's see, Ms. Anthony, you had something to say. Excuse me one minute.
It's been answered.
Okay, let me say this. Let's take the council, vote of the council, see where we're at. And if the council wants to give them this 90 days, then I'm gonna have them to talk with you what you need to do.
I move that we hold it over 90 days to be inspected.
All right, I have a motion.
Well, is 90 days going to be long enough is what my question is. I mean, what is it we're going to do in 90 days?
We'll revisit to see if they've made any
We
effort.
want to see what the progress is in the 90 days.
Right, okay. So it's not like they have to have everything done in 90 days.
They're actually moving forward with it.
It'll be a marker to see where you're at.
Okay, well, I'll second the motion then.
I have a motion and a second. All in
I
favor?
have a question before we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What is the staff's estimate of repairs to bring the property up to a minimum housing condition?
Right now, I don't have all that, but when we went in, like Lisa said, pretty much weakened floors throughout the house, the roof falling, which he repaired the roof, but it's got ceilings in the inside, which come from the outside of the rain, rotten siding, plumbing, electrical.
And in order for it to be being dilapidated, it's at least 50% of the tax.
I understand that. So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What was your estimate of repairs that it needed?
Around $8,000.
So it was only $1,000, but see, you said it was valued at 15?
Yes.
All taxes are paid.
Okay, so it was, all right. So it was valued at 15, and you're saying that at the time you did the inspection, you needed about $8,000 worth of repairs done to it, which was a little over half of the value of the property. And he's made some repairs since then, which lowers that 8,000 some, I guess. All right.
The guy said they'd be back in the morning to do it, asked you.
My mama, she got tired of seeing me having to go do this, and I work carpenter work myself. I work for J&L Construction, so I'm doing a 40-hour carpenter work job there, and he come home in the evening and work until dark, what I was doing. And she seen me overwhelmed, so I'm out there working, Hot Shot pulls up with him, and they know they say 2 boys come up to help me work, just to help me, because I was overwhelmed and I knew it. And I don't want her to lose her houses. That's all she's ever had. That's all she's got for her mama. And we do what we can to clean up our street. When he comes through there with y'all, I'm the one that put all most of that stuff to the road, except for up the top of the hill. But I do try and help her, and she helps me. And we live in the best we can. We're not rich people, but we are getting our materials and stuff as we go. We go to Lowe's and buy. She buys, she sent me up there today to get $122. That ain't nothing but 4 2x6s and about 9 pieces of plywood. And, she's done paid almost $4,000 for the roof. She's had a new chimney built. She's had the cap put on the chimney, like most houses are, and, it's a little dream house. It's actually a little Barbie doll house. I just have to get it looking like that.
Okay, well, just,
I have another question for staff. With regard to the plumbing, what kind of repairs do they have to do for the plumbing? Do they?
just come up to code. There's no plumbing in the house. Like someone had just ripped all the plumbing out. And if they can just bring it up to code, you know, plumbing, pipes.
Bring it up to a condition that existed when the house was built.
2012 state building code.
Okay, so it has to be up to 2012 state building code.
Yes, sir.
Why does it have to be 2012?
That's the current code that we operate and the state mandates that we operate under.
Sir, I had it from one time.
I also would like to say, sir, that the only thing that's missing is the back of the toilet and the hot water heater.
And without-
Everything else is there, the bathtub, the plumbing out. It just cost me like $900 something not too long ago to have plumbing out when I lived there. It's all good, it don't leak. The only thing I need is my hot water heater put back in and the back toilet, which I got a brand new toilet and a hot water heater I'll buy and have somebody apply.
Okay, what about the electrical? What has to be done for the electrical?
Same, just brought up to code. Yeah, pictures of the,
Has people taken the wiring out of the wall?
some of the wiring is snatched, some of it is pulled.
Pool party pump.
Yeah.
Are you going to require that that circuit breaker, a new electric box be put in with circuit breakers? And
All the electrical work would have to be brought up to state building code as well.
It's all gonna have to be brand new, sir.
So that's the box right there.
Is the box still there, as they swiped all the stuff out of it?
It's, some wires is gone,
Okay.
they swapped them out,
It's still there,
exposed
it's
wires
full
right there.
time, but,
Yeah, where they're screwing, oh, those are, yeah.
It needs to be changed, we know that, so we was gonna have it changed. And the
That's
sheetrock that dropped down that they showed, that's minor. You know, all the planks are still hard as rock, you know, I done had a sheetrock man there. We
Well, it probably
figured
came
out-
from the roof leaking.
Okay, any other questions?
just a statement. Be very clear, though, that you understand everything that you need to do, so when we revisit, it won't be what I didn't know, you know, because we're trying our very best to work with you, but.
That's why I wanted to,
Permits would need to be pulled for all the electrical and plumbing and inspected and just to make you aware.
And let's just go ahead and secure the property now, so we can
Brother
work inside
Robert
out.
told me to start with, if I tore it down, it would be on me. If y'all tore it down, then it would be cost to y'all and the lien on the property.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
that's right, he's right there.
Okay.
Mayor, what I would like to have like the staff to have an understanding with them on is what would be acceptable to the staff in 90 days. Because if they can do all the work they want to in 90 days, and if it's not acceptable to the staff is going to still come back to us with a demolition order. So, you know, if the staff is going to require that the plumbing be brought up to code in that 90 days, if the staff is going to require that the electrical be brought up to code in that 90 days at a minimum, so that they will give additional time for some of the other things if needed. I just want to make sure that that's understood.
Typically, the way we worked in the past with these type of projects is within that 90 days, if we see permits pulled, work being done, not necessarily if the
Completed.
plumbing's completed or the electrical's completed, but once they've pulled permits, work's begun, 90 days is over, we would go in and inspect and then evaluate it at that time and bring back the findings.
Okay, so you understand what they're saying?
Yes, because they told me I had to, after I did this, to get electrical. The electrician can get another permit for that.
Electrical should be one of your first things you look at because of the fire hazard.
Well, it's been cut off.
It's off.
Okay.
It's been cut off since I've been out of it, but,
The water's bad.
the wiring was, I mean, it needs to be redone, it'll be redone, I'm gonna hire
So you
somebody.
have no water going to it either, right?
No, it's all completely shut off, it's been shut off, and, let's see. what else?
This property's been vacant
Since 2004.
correct?
Well, last time we had actual utilities, it was 2004
Okay.
at that property.
What is the, what about the heat in the property? What are you requiring with regard to heat?
You got to have heat, hardwire, some source of heat. Yeah, you gotta have it.
Okay, now, they said they just replaced a chimney. So does that mean that they can put some type of a surface heater in there, oil surface heater or a gas surface heater? You're saying that it has to have another type of heat other than just a
Hardwire, it's just a hardwire heater. You got to have, like heat, like electric heat, gas.
Like
heat.
baseboard heat or
Yeah,
something like
that, yeah.
Okay, why is it required to have?
That's the state building code.
The
State building
entire
code does
property
not.
will be required to be brought up to state building code. Whether it's the plumbing, the electrical, the flooring.
By your code, they either have to have central or electric heating or some other heating facility, and then it prescribes a standard.
Hardwire.
Right, and it prescribes a standard where if you don't have central electric heating, it's got to be something with sufficient chimneys, flues, or gas vents, whereby heating appliances may be connected so as to heat the habitable rooms to 68
Well, but
degrees.
that's not what Robert is saying. Robert is saying that you can't have just a freestanding, say, stove that they heat by, or that is attached to the chimney.
That's correct, but what I'm pointing out is the code is saying what Robert and I are saying the same exact thing. It's that your code says it's either central or electric or something that's connected. So it is a connected system that has to be able to heat it up to 68 degrees when it's 20 degrees outside.
Like baseboard heater.
Above.
So baseboard heaters are
But
sufficient
you
or
don't have
anything
to have air
connected.
conditioning as long as you've got screens on
Screen
the
on the windows, and the windows are open.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has to heat up, like you said,
you
68
gotta have
degrees,
hardwire.
3 feet above the floor.
Okay, all right, so just as long as,
When it's 20 degrees outside.
just as long as they are clear on what is expected. And, if they're not gonna be able to use, their oil stove to heat with, as they think they might, then, they just need to be aware of that.
Sir, what about Amish heaters and Amish heaters,
Not according to what he just said.
And if you have
We'll be more than
questions, you
happy
need
to
to
work with
contact
you to make sure that you understand what.
code
exactly
enforcement
is
for clarity.
Yes. It was, as you pull your permits, building inspector will be out there and they'll be directing you as well.
I've already got a building permit.
Yeah, like the electrical, when you schedule your
See if we,
inspections.
excuse me one minute, see if we get this voted. Council, have any other questions? Excuse me one minute. No other questions? Do I have a motion?
You have a motion and a second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? All right. Okay, what I'd like to do, Lisa, if you department or whatever, get with these folks and be sure they understand it. We've been talking about, but also how they got to board this thing up for safety reasons. And it's not just for you, somebody say, but for your safety, somebody goes there and gets hurt, you could be liable for it.
Yeah.
But you got a big task in front of you. I wish you well, and I hope you get it done. And I think you can. But we'll work with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck, Ms. Hill.
Item 19, property at 908 Belton Street.
We're gonna have a second tonight.
End of the year.
Last one.
Gotta decide to get them all at one time, right?
Okay, great. This is another petition for an ordinance to declare 908 Belton Street unfit for human habitation and demolition. To orient you to the subject property, it is highlighted in blue. It's located along Belton Street. The site is approximately 0.20 acres and currently contains a 780 square feet single-family dwelling. Staff has received complaints regarding the vacancy and dilapidated condition of the dwelling. An inspection was conducted on July 10th, 2014. During the inspections, some of the violations that were include failing roof, deteriorated siding, holes in walls, leaks in the ceiling, and weak floors. To provide you with a few photos. doesn't zoom out anymore. The code enforcement officer held and conducted a minimum housing hearing on August 7th, 2014, in which the property owner, Bonnie Marsh, was in attendance to the hearing. As a result of the hearing, the code enforcement officer made and entered an order finding the said dwelling to be in violation of the minimum housing ordinance, determined the dwelling was in a dilapidated condition, and ordered the property owner to repair or demolish within 90 days. 908 Belton Street has a tax value for the structure in the amount of $30,140, and the repairs necessary to bring the house into compliance with the state building code exceeds 50% of the value. The land value for the subject property is $10,070, and the proposed demolition is approximately $7,550, and of course that does not include the asbestos removal at this time. Due to the condition of the structure and adverse impact it has on the area, staff is recommending council adopt an ordinance to declare the property unfit for human habitation and demolition as submitted. If council does adopt this ordinance, it will deplete the remaining funds in the amount of $35,550 allocated for minimum housing for the fiscal year. A budget amendment is included in your packet for the amount of $35,000 that is from the general fund. That will cover the cost of the asbestos removal as well as the remaining demo costs for the 908 Belton Street. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And then Brian McAllister was the code enforcement officer on this case, and then I believe the property owner is here as well.
Council have questions?
Question for
Listen,
Brian.
may we have the property owner come forward, please?
I have a question for Brian before we do that.
Okay.
What do you estimate the cost of repairs to be, Brian?
Majority of this work is exterior. I was looking around 15, 5, 16, because you have to pull all that off, and once you get in there, and the roof was falling off to the side, and the left-hand side of the house, and that leak, so I was kind of looking at, once you get in the walls and everything, it could be mold and all that stuff in there, so I was figuring all that in there as well.
Okay.
This is the 2008 tax value.
Yeah,
It's not.
and then the bathroom floor is weak around the toilet, so I was looking at writing the sofa and writing the floor joists in there too.
Okay, so all of that work to include joists, to include interior work,
Yeah, and rafters.
and all of that, and all of that's
Yeah,
included in
like
that.
left side of the roof is starting to fall off, so you're looking at ceiling rafters and joists there too.
So all of that is included in that $15,000 that
Right
you
on
just
there.
mentioned. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, we'd like to hear from property owner. Ma'am, if you would give your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bonnie Marsh, 809 LaSalle Street, here in Monroe. The house at 908 Belton Street, I haven't been able to get inside to see what they have seen on the inside because we have, I guess you would say, squatters that will not leave the property.
They're trespassing, are they not?
Ma'am?
You don't have a lease or anything with them,
No, I do not.
so they're trespassing.
Yes, they are.
The police won't remove them?
Well, we went down last week with the police. 3 sets of police went with us. They promised to be out by Monday. Well, the dog is still running around and they're still there. So even before that, we have asked them to leave and they still are there. So the city police told me that if they do not move when we went out last week, that I would have to take out trespassing charges for them. So that's what we are getting ready to do now. We can't get inside to look, or we can't even get on the property really to send someone to look because, like I said, they have animals. The police said they had too many dogs. They had 4, I think it's 4 or 5. One's on the front porch, and dogs and me don't get along.
Let me ask you a question, please. Brian, if this house has been, let me make sure I'm reading right, unfit for human habitation, can we not move on our ordinance on to move them people out of there?
This would be part of it.
I'm sorry?
This would be part of it, even order to be vacated and aborted.
Mayor, if you approve the ordinance to demolish, it allows the city to do a summary ejectment and basically go down the magistrate and get these folks ejected.
Oh, we have to approve the ordinance before we can move on that on
Yes,
that
sir.
part? Okay.
Yes, sir.
We'll go another route. I was looking for a different way for it to go. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to see if there's something that we could do with our ordinance, because if we say it's unfit, we can't let people live in it. But I understand what he's saying, so, well, maybe you'll have to do this trespassing, but go right ahead with yours.
Wait just a
How long have they
second.
been there?
I got a question too before.
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna ask Brian, when you went down there to do the inspection, were these people in the house?
They actually we had the consent from Ms. Marsh, she's PO, power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Right, but were these people in the house, the
They
trespassers?
were across the street.
If I may, I'm familiar with property,
Yes,
they
you
come
were.
at night.
They're staying there at night.
Yeah.
Because it's no power, that's what,
there's no
threw the
power
red
involved.
flag, because it wasn't any power. And that's what caused,
You need to go straight to the
them-
magistrate's office and take out trespassing papers on them.
Well, are they is it homeless people or what? Is it drunks, winos? I mean, who's staying there?
Well, the only name I know is Peanut. I know his mother. She was there before, but she's moved already to another location.
Did you have a lease with Peanut?
Peanut is the woman.
No, Peanut is the son.
Well, it's a lady that ain't Peanut too.
Oh, really? What's it, y'all see how
I
much
do
I
have a
know?
question for you. Did you have a lease with the people that are there, their mother?
No,
Okay.
I have a question.
yes.
Oh, what is your intention with the property? If a code enforcement gives you a list of those things that needs to be repaired, is it your intention to repair it?
Yes, we wanted to go in and take an assessment to see how much it would cost us to repair. And then after we look at the cost, then we were going to make a decision whether we wanted to demolish it or to repair it. But as it stands right now, we haven't been able to do that.
Mayor?
Yes.
Why don't we hear this one next month after they have a chance to make their visit to the house to see if it's repairable?
Yeah, I think they need an opportunity to go in and look at this and make your decision. You don't know until you go inspect yourself. I think the first hurdle that you got to do is get these people out of there so you can do that. And I don't have a problem with next month unless the council, however they want to handle it, fine with me.
Captain Green, are you here? Will you please get with Miss Marsh and see what the police department can do?
Mr. Green can get it squared away for you.
Mayor, can I?
I move we grant till the next meeting in January.
Okay, let's
That's
hear
acceptable.
Mayor, just before we do that, if you're gonna do summary ejectment, it's gonna take you longer than that to
Well,
do summary ejectment.
If she's not doing summary eject, they're trespassing. All she's got to do is go to the magistrate's office and take out papers for trespassing, and they can be removed.
Okay, well,
She doesn't have any type of agreement with him.
well, I
Not
just-
exactly.
I just want to make sure that we give them enough time to go through the legal procedure to get them out.
She doesn't even have a name to file eviction against.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we
Yeah.
give them enough time
126.
to go through the legal procedures that's going to take to get them out.
And Mayor, I just want to get one clarification from the code enforcement staff. There is an order in place requiring that the property owners to vacate and close the dwelling already. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And I just want to clarify for the council, once we have that, I just had a slight confusion there. We could file a civil action to eject them, except for we also have the same problem the property owner does. We don't know what name
We don't
to
know the
do.
name.
And so we would be stuck in the same position. So they're in a better position because they're trespassing on their property. So, but I just want to note that and clarify that it's not that we need our demo order, it's we have the order already in place, but we have that problem of it's difficult for us to eject them at that point.
How about, Mr. Casar said, what, did you say a month? What about
No, Lisa, work with the property owner and once this is done, bring it back to us, where it be a month or 6 weeks or
Do
whatever.
we need to have a specific time frame that this?
What do we do
is
first meeting in
brought back?
February?
Why don't we do 90 days like we did the last one?
That would be fair.
That'll
Have
come,
some type of time frame on it?
That's fine with me.
Yeah,
I think the 90 days,
yeah.
I
90
think the
days.
90 days can come, or whatever the days needs to be, after they get in there and do the inspection, and get these folks out and find out really what they want to do. If they want to come back and we want to repair the house, then we can work on whatever days we need to work. But I think, I'll make this suggestion, it's only a suggestion. How about the first meeting in February, let them report back, and Billy, would that give enough time? I think that'd be adequate, don't you, to get them out of there?
I think so.
I'm not making any motion, I'm just talking. What do you council think about the first meeting in
I'll
February?
second your motion.
No, I'm not making a motion. I'll let y'all make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
I just want to be sure we give you enough time.
Fluid is making a motion to do it till 90 days.
All right, 90?
If Lynn was making a motion, she seconded it, however.
Okay.
You got something else you wanted to say, ma'am?
Well, what I wanted to say is that I am the POA of this, and my father that's on the property, he is real sick, and we're taking care of him. That's why we hadn't, if he was able to do that, then maybe we could have gotten him out sooner. But my husband is home off the road now, and he's gonna help me. They'll try to get it, get things situated.
Would 90 days be adequate?
Yes, I do. Mhm.
90 days be adequate?
And I'll second.
I have a motion.
Motion.
and
She
a
has a
second.
motion in 90 days.
I have a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll ask if you, code enforcement will work with these folks and put all this package together, we'll get it right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Well, Lisa, we haven't exceeded your budget now.
That's right, we didn't want to spend your money. Okay. Item 20, award of water meter contract.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For your consideration this evening is award of our annual purchase of 3/4 inch and 1 inch water meters. The bids were put out by the city purchasing staff, and the results are included in your packet. And this will allow us to purchase up to 1,000 3/4 inch meters and up to 51 inch water meters for part of our replacement program, and also for new connections as people connect to the system. So staff is recommending council award the bid to Carolina Meter and Supply for the unit costs shown above, and budgeted funds are available for purchase of these meters.
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Item 21, recommendation of appointment and reappointment to commissions.
Citizen Appointment Committee met on November 24th, 2014, and we recommend that the council make the following appointments. Rupal Das and Gail Privet to Downtown Advisory Board, appoint Kenneth Deal to Environmental Water Resource Committee, reappoint Marion Holloway to the Land Development Committee, reappoint Bob Bullard to Monroe Historic District Commission, reappoint Patricia Engel to Monroe Union County Economic Development Board of Advisors, and to reappoint Robert Jones Sr. to Public Safety Committee, and I make the motion.
I second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Okay, we're at the public comment period. I don't have anyone signed up. Is anyone here who would like to? Oh, she's on, I was on that housing thing. Is anyone here who would like to address the council? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn, have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. See you the 15th of December.